Welcome to Larry's Legendary Library, where I like to talk about science fiction, fantasy, and other bits and bobs. Today I'm going to have a mega book haul for May, which is, I usually don't get this many books, but May was atypical for me. But before I get to the book haul, I just wanted to say how grateful I am for all my new subscribers and the people that have watched my video. My newbie tag was, in my mind, very successful, and I just felt a very warm welcome by many people, and so I say thank you for that. I'll put chapters in this video because I know not everybody likes fantasy or science fiction or the bits and bobs, but so if you want to jump to your part that you're more interested in, feel free to do so. I'm going to start with bits and bobs and then go to fantasy, and then finally my science fiction haul. So without further ado, there was a yard sale that followed along a highway, and there was like house after house that was having yard sales, and one house was selling books, and I got these for 20 cents each, 5 for $1, and I probably wouldn't have picked these out normally, but they were in part of a box, and I just bought the whole box of books. And The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I've not read, but I got those. And then I got 2 of these Saint books. I've seen the movie Saint and enjoyed it quite a bit, but have never read the books. And this was somewhat nostalgic for me. These were in that same box. So for 20 cents, I got some of these Mad Magazine books. And I used to read these back in the day and enjoyed all the crazy art in them and just ridiculous stories. And so I'll enjoy looking through these. Would you count these on Goodreads for your books read for the month if you read these? And 2 more. And I bought 2 books at thriftstore.com by Tom Morrissey. And these are kind of, I guess you'd call them Christian adventure books. To me, the Christian part isn't overdone or preachy, but very good stories. And I had read those in the past and was feeling nostalgic for those, and bought those. And these I think I got for $1 a book. Louis L'Amour, which I used to read these prolifically back in the day. Prolifically, that's a tongue twister for me. Hondo, I remember that. I think it's a John Wayne movie as well. And Callaghan. And then some others that were nostalgic for me. These I got for 50 cents. James Herriot, All Creatures Great and Small, a vet in England. My wife and I actually started watching the television show on BritBox, which was pretty good. That was All Things Bright and Beautiful, All Things Wise and Wonderful, and the Lord God Made Them All. And then I got this for $1, a hardback of All Things Wise and Wonderful. And then rounding out my bits and bobs will be Dean Koontz. These paperbacks were 50 cents at a thrift store. Forever Odd, Odd Interlude. These were in surprisingly good condition. You don't always find these like that. Good condition. Saint Odd. Odd Hours. I went through a Dean Koontz phase too. That's why I picked these up. False Memory. And then $1 purchase. Odd Thomas hardback. So that's my bits and bobs, and I'll jump into fantasy next. This is an art book by Patrick Woodruff, and I bought this to round out free shipping on thriftstore.com, and I thought I might give this to my son, who's kind of into art and things, but I thought it was an interesting book, and we'll probably give that to him. I got these J.R.R. Tolkien books. They were in that 20 cents a piece box. They are pretty worn, and but I am glad to get those. I did read the first book, and it's I guess to my shame, I haven't completed the series yet, although I do have it scheduled for this year to finish the series. Edgar Rice Burroughs, The Moon Maid. Michael Moorcock, The Sword and the Stallion. I haven't read Michael Moorcock, but some of the booktubers I follow love him, so I look forward to reading him. I do have some Alan Dean Foster books and these Flinks books, which again I haven't read. Fred Saberhagen, this is the 6th book in the Lost Sword series, and here's the 4th book in the Lost Sword series, so I'll have to keep my eye out to get the rest of those. The Crystal City, Orson Scott Card, the 6th book in the Alvin Maker series. I've read the first one in the series, and this is now completes my set, and I have been lending it out to a friend at work, and so and he's been enjoying it. He's further along than I am. I think he's in the 4th book, so I felt like I needed to buy the last book so I can have him set up for completing the series. And Terry Brooks from the Shannara series, which I would like to read and haven't read yet. This book I actually spent a little bit of money on. I think it was $10 on eBay. Chamiel, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, by Edward Pearson. One of the booktubers I watched gave it a pretty bad review, but his review made me interested in it. I guess kind of something like C.S. Lewis, and came from the seller shipped it from Canada, so that probably increased the price a bit because I'm in the States. And I tried to do some research on Edward Pearson, but there is just not a lot out there. Just his birth date, if I remember right, it was 1908 and born in England. But there is really nothing about his life. This is the only fiction he wrote, and then I think he wrote 2 nonfiction books. But if anybody can find any more information about him, I'd certainly be interested in knowing about it. You can leave that in the comments. Janny Wirtz, Ships of Marrier. I bought this because of booktubers that talk about Janny Wirtz and this book specifically and how good it is. The Power That Preserves, Stephen R. Donaldson. I read Lord Fowle's Bane in the Thomas Covenant series, and I'll have to admit I'm still torn by that book. On one hand, it was disturbing, and yet on the other hand, it has stuck with me probably more than any other book I've read recently, just going over in my mind. And someday I'll have to come up with a review to try to figure out my feelings on the book. Marion Zimmer Bradley and Herodor. Andre Norton, The Warlock of the Witch World. Lord Prestimian, Robert Silverberg. Elizabeth Moon, Liar's Oath. I have collected some of her science fiction and plan to read it, but I haven't yet. C.J. Cherry and Leslie Fish, A Dirge for Sabbath, Book 1 of the Sword of Knowledge. Stephen R. Donaldson, The Mirror of Dreams. Mordant's Need, that's Book 1. And Book 2, A Man Rides Through. Now I got these. These were a little more than I usually pay. They're $4 each at the bookseller in Crossville, Tennessee. And but that's where I bought a lot of my science fiction collection, which I'll turn to next. This is part of the Last Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, The Ruins of the Earth. Again, Stephen R. Donaldson. Salute the Dark, part of the Shadows of the Apt series by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I read Shroud, and I've got Alien Clay, I think, that I haven't read yet. And I really enjoyed Shroud, and so I saw this for a good price and picked it up. Another Edgar Rice Burroughs, collection of 3 books, Thuvia, Maid of Mars, and The Chessmen of Mars. And this I picked up for $1, The Treasury of Hans Christian Andersen. More fairy tales, but thought I would include it here. The Reluctant King by L. Sprague de Camp. And this is 3 books which I have in paperback version. The Goblin Tower, The Clocks of Iraz, and The Unbeheaded King. And but this was a hardback collection, and I usually prefer hardbacks because they're easier for me to read. And then this is the book that I'm reading now, The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. I hope to have a review for it, perhaps this weekend. I bought this new, it's a new release, basically because I love the First Law series so much, and I'll share my thoughts on this book in a few days. And now I'll jump in. Okay. John Barley, Red Lightning. I like the look of this starship on the front. David Weber, Fire Season. I think this is one of the, not the main Honor Harrington series, but an offshoot of that. And I've read Honor Harrington, and I've been reading the Safehold series by David Weber, and I really enjoy his books. This one, Goliath Stone by Larry Niven and Matthew Joseph Harrington. This one was $2 at Goodwill, and when I got it home, I saw the cover. You won't be able to see it here, but it's got some water damage on the cover. I probably wouldn't have bought it. CJ Cherry Protector. I think there's, 12 or 14 in the Foreigner series, and I've been collecting them, and I probably have like 6 of the books in that collection. This book, Discovery, I hope to read in June. I bought this from Talking Story. The father, wife, and the son co-wrote it, and I bought it and signed, and I was really glad to get that book. Anne McCaffrey and Elizabeth Ann Scarborough, First Warning, part of Corna's series, which I hope to read and haven't read yet. I'm embarrassed by the amount of times I say that. Lois McMaster Bujold, Mirror Dance. I've read one book, actually listened to it. I forget the name of it now, but it was the one with the Quaddies, and really enjoyed it and would like to read more of the Vorkosigan saga. And then I bought some Anne McCaffrey, All the Wares of Pern. Freedom's Challenge. Treaty at Duna, Anne McCaffrey and Jody Lynn Nye. And here's Anne McCaffrey and Elizabeth Ann Scarborough, Power Lines. I got some Jack Chalker, A War of Shadows. He's got a Diamond series, I think, something Diamond in the series title, and it's 4 books, which I have those already on my library. This says Book 4 of the Rings of the Master, Masks of the Martyrs. Again, Jack Chalker. Book 3 of the Rings of the Masters, Warriors of the Storm. Pirates of the Thunder, Book 2. And Michael Moorcock, Behold the Man. The Fall of Hyperion by Dan Simmons. I read these books, but I don't know if I gave them to my son or if I've lost them through the way, but so I don't actually own a copy of them anymore until I got this. So I'll look to pick up the others so I can actually have a copy on my shelf. One of my favorite books, and wearing a t-shirt, The Tree of Pain. Marion Zimmer Bradley, Trader's Son. I do have a number of these Darkover series books, and so this is another one of those that I didn't have. Oath of Swords by David Weber. Then 2 Frank Herbert books. This one's Frank Herbert and Brian, Man of Two Worlds. And The Ascension Factor. I've read a lot of Frank Herbert back in the day, and Dune was a longtime favorite of mine, the 6 books in the original series. Fire Time by Poul Anderson. I have been going through some of these Poul Anderson books, and I think I've read 3 of them now and enjoyed it. This I got an encyclopedia of science fiction based on one of the booktubers I watch referencing it. You don't really need to buy it. It is thick and the print is small, but it is an encyclopedia, so technically I guess it's not science fiction, it's about science fiction. But it is nice to look up like 1990s and before books in there, but again, it was a luxury purchase because you can find all that online. And then let's see, 6 William C. Dietz books. For More Than Glory. Andromeda's Fall. When All Seems Lost. And these are great covers. They look like space operas for the most part. And this one, I've gone through and tried to remove the stickers on all my books that I bought. I didn't try to remove this, but it is autographed. For Kamal, William C. Dietz. And then By Blood Alone. Mother of Eden by Chris Beckett. I have Dark Eden, and I guess it's a trilogy, which I don't have the third book in the trilogy, but I got Dark Eden based on one of the booktubers I follow that I really enjoy, and he recommended that book. Schrodinger's Cat trilogy by Robert Anton Wilson. The 1980 Annual World's Best SF, edited by Donald A. Woolheim. And this was $1 at the bookseller in Crossville, Tennessee. In this book, David Weber, Wind Rider's Oath. I actually got this book for free because I ordered it from thrift stores. It said very good or like new condition, and it says CD inside, and there was no CD inside, and so I sent them a message, and they credited me for the purchase of the book, so that was a free book. The Rings of Pegasus by Anne McCaffrey. The Canticle for Leibowitz, Walter M. Miller Jr., hardback. I have this in paperback and now hardback, and I recently read it via audio book and really enjoyed it, and thought I'd pick up the hardback while I could when it was very inexpensive. The Genocidal Healer by James White, kind of a funky cover. Arthur C. Clarke, 2010, Odyssey 2. This is one of those 20-cent books that I got in a box of books. And then some more Stephen R. Donaldson, The Gap into Power series, A Dark and Hungry God Arises. I know the light kind of reflects on my wrap, but I like to wrap these to kind of protect them. And here's another in the Gap into Madness, Chaos and Order. Mark L. Van Name, Overthrowing Heaven. The Fuzzy Papers by H. Beam Piper. I've got one of these other fuzzy books and got this one too, and Look forward to reading those. And this book I got from work, John Stanford and Seatine, however you say that, Saturn Run. So that's my mega May book haul. I'll try to do one book haul a month, and I doubt they'll be that big in the future. Thank you for watching.